Know this, Alaska's Terra Incognita still exists, but access continues to be the greatest limiting factor. It's often expensive to reach and routes are technical to pursue. For this river expedition, our pilot has located a small ridgetop to land his Super Cub, a couple of miles from the main channel. But when we get there, recent snowfall had covered the landing area. The pilot has no choice but to abandon this spot, because fresh snow covered exposed boulders that could damage his airplane on landing. So our only hope at this point is to travel farther downstream and pray that he could locate a suitable gravel bar to land the plane. For every 30 seconds of flight time, another mile of our route was being erased. I've been closely studying this particular creek for 6 consecutive years by air. This was the first year the channel had enough water to even attempt a first descent. Even at medium stage, this option would still be an arduous challenge, if we could even find a place to land. At this point, my anxiety was redlining, because we'd flown nearly 5 minutes from the snow-covered ridgetop, nearly 12 miles from my desired starting point, and found no gravel bars long enough for landing. Then, adding to my tension, we spotted some moose, big ones. But onward we flew, passing up prime hunting grounds and trophy bulls. Finally, Andy spots a bar that would serve us, but unpredictable winds with gusty downdrafts thwarted 3 attempts to land. We got a lucky break on the final approach, and he touched down softly and rolled the Cub to a stop. Access has been secured at long last. 6 years of desire and dreaming of this very day had just been realized. I was so excited for my partner to get here, so that we could launch ourselves into a true Terra Incognita experience.
Well, our first load of 2 has landed. Andy just dropped us off on a very short gravel bar, very unsuspecting downdrafts. It was kind of scary getting in. We had to make 3 or 4 passes. Anyway, we're about 3 miles below 8 moose, 4 of which are bulls, 4 are cows, all over, well over 50 inches. We're in parts unknown. We're going to give it a first descent with pack rafts, hunting moose, for 9 days, starting today, the 12th of September.
The Terra Incognita experience is heightened during fall periods in moose country. It's like stepping into a wildlife sanctuary and taking a personal tour of the animal's natural habitat and evolutionary cycles. A treasured gift of nature.
That's a really good sign. When you're in moose camp, the first thing you start to locate is a fresh rub like that. Man, this is exciting. He has just worked all of these branches in here.
An exploratory mission of this caliber demands technical watercraft and careful planning. For this hunt, each person would use a 9-foot, 15-pound pack raft and a 6-foot inflatable meat trailer. These inflatable dinghies would also serve as backup transportation should one of our pack rafts get destroyed. Consider this a contingency plan. Our packing list would need to weigh less than 80 pounds each, so every item has to serve very specific needs for comfort, survival, and proficient skillcraft. The only true luxury items would be a book and a sat phone. Even my camera gear had to weigh less than 6 pounds. The creek we'll be exploring is rarely floatable due to late season flow rates and unpredictable wilderness character. We expected to negotiate unknown river threats, such as low water hazards, beaver dams, log jams, sweepers, and rapids, as well as limited access points for emergency use. We were truly on our own. We would be the first explorers of this entire route, so we met this adventure head-on with high expectations and questionable outcomes. Here's a brief description of the pack rafts we'll be using on this hunt. They're constructed of rugged, lightweight plastic fabric to allow easy field repair and superior abrasion guard on shallow streams. Each boat has 2 main air chambers that are inflated with a double action air pump. Each tube is inflated to 3 pounds per square inch of air pressure to maximize flotation and weight allowance. Without a pressure gauge, users test adequate pressure by touch to ensure the tubes are firm.
And one thing that I do ensure is my 25 pounds of food are completely secured in this dry sack, and that will go inside my pack for added measure. But one thing you can't afford out here is to have soggy food.
Each of us plan to be completely self-sufficient with our food and personal gear. To achieve a 25-pound food list and provide up to 3,000 calories per day, dehydrated meals are essential. Other foods must be high in fat, protein, and calories. So I eat a lot of nuts, cookies, Pro bars, and Snicker bars, as well as bagels for breakfast and meat and cheese for lunch. These chicken packets add bulk to dehydrated meals and provide a few hundred extra calories to each meal. That is, until we have fresh meat in camp.
It's also important to contain all your clothes and your sleeping bag, which I have here, inside a really lightweight Sea-Line dry sack. This is the 30 liter. You can see I've patched it a few times, so it definitely takes some abuse before it needs to be patched, but just a secondary waterproof layer for all your clothing and your sleeping kit is definitely worth the weight in ounces. And I make sure that it fits right inside on top of my food for easy access during the day. It's very important that you contain all of your items into one unit like a backpack. That's what makes them so great for pack rafting. Everything is self-contained. If you have to stop because of low water threats, you can easily mount your backpack, grab the boat, and walk, as opposed to wrestling with a larger canoe or a raft. These things are pretty sweet for remote access. Inside my black bag, I put all my optics, my day snack foods, my GPS, binos, and all my personal hygiene items, as well as fire starting kits. Inside the blue bag is my field care kits: saws, game bags, citric acid, meat thermometers, knives, scalpels, etc. All of this is basically our utility bag, and we'll only use that once we get an animal down.
Nice.
Glad you're here, huh?
Yeah.
Seeing the critters?
We saw
2 nice bulls.
one with a cow and a calf.
Huh. Well, there's no hurting for moose population on this river.
Doesn't seem to be. Although you still might want to wander upstream, I don't know.
Yeah, that was a big bull.
Yeah.
If he's bad enough to have 4 cows with him.
Yeah,
And those
three big ones
And the
lurking
other-
around the edges.
Right,
Yeah,
right around the edge.
yeah.
It's safe to say that this adventure would not be possible without the competent skills of a qualified bush pilot. It's also important that your pilot values the experience and has the habit of being discreet. Remember, the fewer people that know about a selected spot, the greater the chance that Terra Incognita value will remain for future use.
So this will be a nice firm backrest, and then it's not going to go anywhere. And when I need to get out, I just unclip this, and I got a beaner on each side. That bag comes out. This one I still need to work with. I'm not sure I like my bow right here, but I do like the flap being here. So I think I'll keep it like this. I just need to tweak the tie down points a little better.
Mike and I wasted no time heading upstream to locate those big bulls. As you might suspect, these waist-high Gore-Tex waders were a huge asset on this trip. They served as both waders and rain pants. We had the whole afternoon to make the trek, so we thoroughly scouted every gravel bar for moose traffic along the way.
Looks like we might be onto something. Good sign.
To this point, this film has described Terra Incognita as the holy grail of wilderness experiences. Remote isolation, devoid of human impact, charged with personal discovery and rewards granted by access, striving, and self-reliance. We've established the limiting factors of such an experience and demonstrated the importance of respectful land use, and even highlighted some diminishing factors of wilderness character. These all seem to be the physical, if not psychological, forces that shape our impressions of Terra Incognita. But a journey of this scale would seem incomplete without the solidarity of a spiritual connection to wilderness. On this hunt, I hope to convey the elements that bond us to nature and keep us coming back to wild places.
Well, we made it 2.2 nautical miles from the drop-off. Those bulls are 3/4 of a mile upstream of us. We're going to try to make an attempt in the morning. It's already 8 o'clock. It took us 3.5 hours to go 2.5 nautical miles, or 2.2. It's about 4.5 river miles.
Teamwork is an important element of success. Mike and I have developed a strong, cohesive partnership over many previous wilderness adventures, and we both value the other's judgment and count on each other for strength, stamina, and group spirit. Camp chores are tackled as a team to achieve field efficacy. Shelter, fire, food, rest, and repair. We both know what needs to be done and in which order, so we do it with speed and accuracy at each camp.
Tonight we're having aloo matar, Indian food, with whole grain wheat couscous and a piece of pita bread. Hopefully that's about 500 calories.
Seaweed in the Brooks Range. Chewy.
It's not quite 7 a.m. We're gonna grab our day packs, enough provisions to take care of one moose and a little food for a full day. And we're gonna hop across the river, get on that high bank over there and beat feed a mile upstream away from the river along the edge just to see if we can get closer to those moose that we saw from the air yesterday. See if we can find that big one again and put a stalk on it.
It didn't take us long to reach those moose, but even this 50-incher was the smallest one we spotted from the air yesterday. So we passed on him and searched for the others another mile upstream.
Well, came up over this ridge at the far end of it, and there's 2 bulls and 4 cows. The big bull came up this creek here, so we tracked him through the woods and saw he'd come out on a big oxbow bend in the river, and he met up with another bull and they squared off. At least stared each other down, and I thought the one on the left, which was upriver, was the new bull, and he looked a little bigger. And the 4 cows went with the big bull. They went into the woods. The other one went back out to the river. We split the difference between them. Called, they both answered. The one downriver actually came at us at a pretty good speed. I'd say it took him 5 minutes to get in, and got 30 yards away and then stopped, and all I could see was his rack and his nose, and I think he had 3 tines on each side, big brows though, and antlers that laid back almost flat. They weren't curved forward at all. So I'm not an expert, but I'd say it was a 60-inch bull. Didn't have long points either. It was just a big, wide, laid back palm. But I'm looking for something with more impressive brow tines. At least there's a fourth bull. Hasn't gotten up since we got here about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. But it was a good opportunity. We'll have more.
Yeah. Well, it's a little after 7 a.m. Day 3, second day of hunting. We just broke camp down and we're gonna load up our rafts and do a gentle cold morning, early morning float to see if we can't get some bulls to respond. Cold this morning, a little below freezing. Everything has ice on it. Yeah, obviously the waders and the wader boots are solid ice when we wake up. So one of two options, if not both, is to start a fire and heat everything up before you leave, which is sort of what we did. But we also boiled water and poured about 6 cups into our boots, 3 cups each, boiling, and that loosens things up so you can get them on your feet and your toes aren't crisp starting off in the morning.
Calling moose on the drift is highly effective, especially in areas void of hunting pressure. Bulls are often patrolling for cows along the perimeter and are brought to attention when a cow call or bull grunt is used. As we drift, we keep a watchful eye for any movement in the up and downstream corridors.
Wah. 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 Wah.
And we eagerly scout key terrain features that offer points of elevation to serve as lookouts. Here's a great example, a 50-foot bluff overlooking an oxbow less than 100 yards off river. On a float like this, locating moose is just a matter of time. We found a big bull in this spot, well over 60 inches. But he wouldn't come any closer than 100 yards, so a bow shot was out of the question.
Anyway, it was a good try. Man, what a fantastic looking bull that was. That would have been an awesome bow trophy. A rifle for that matter as well. A lot of density in this drainage, man. I'm really impressed with everything we've seen. Crazy to see 60-inch bulls every day so far. I love it.
Yeah, would have been a little wet where he was standing, but
Yeah.
I think we could have got him on dry ground, but there's plenty of hunting left to do. We're going to get close. We're going to have patience. We've got plenty of time.
To describe the connection to a wilderness environment, we must first define this phenomenon as the roots that hold the spiritual tree upright. Think of nostalgia, a sentimental longing, typically for a period or a place, with a happy, personal association. Nostalgia can be triggered by visual, auditory, or odor cues of familiar pleasures that deliver an emotional response. Philosophers call this a place attachment. By interacting with our environment, we create bonds and links. My place attachment is moose hunting. I've hunted moose for 18 years, and I am emotionally compelled by the time of year, the setting, and the pursuit of this activity. I have a deep spiritual connection to hunting moose along rivers. Therefore, my wilderness experiences are synthesized to the highest degree when I float a new river in complete isolation. I value these experiences so much that I'm motivated to tread lightly on the environment in hopes of preserving the natural quality of the next experience.
We'll find bigger. It's fun to get close. Well, we did a lot of floating today and saw a couple of nice bulls. We made camp here on this high bank. Not a lot to report. We're just sort of waiting it out. Probably start a good early morning float or call from camp. Kind of get a feel of what we see from camp tonight and make our decision in the morning. So good float today. No obstacles, no major hazards. Boats are performing well and all of our gear is right where it should be. We're just waiting on some better moose opportunities downstream.
This is
Chocolate mousse and graham cracker crust. That's good stuff.
At every new camp, we begin our calling sessions by breaking dry dead willows to emulate a bull thrashing brush. This lets any moose in the area know that competition has arrived. We scout the camp perimeter to locate animals and to access higher points of elevation for better visibility of our surroundings.
There's a big bull behind the cow. Behind the trees.
Once we spotted that bull, we moved in closer to try to engage him and pull him away from the cow.
Oh. 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 He's in here somewhere.
We got close, but not close enough for a shot with a bow. Somewhat disappointing, but we were sure other moose would be downstream.
The end of a good day.
Man, that was a good day. It's a good float too.
Yeah, it was enjoyable.
I don't know.
So two big bulls. Within 100 yards of both of them.
3, didn't we? 3 today.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that one monster this morning. I forgot about him.
Yeah, he was a whopper.
Yeah, that was a nice moose.
I don't think I've ever floated a river that's got this much sign. It's consistent. You know, everywhere we've been, it's been good.
Yeah, and this many big moose.
Yeah, you don't see that on every river. You know, we're up to 7 bulls now.
Yeah.
All over 50.
Yeah.
Except one, maybe.
I think that one was 50. I think we're just,
Used to see
too
him.
used to seeing 65 inches. And that would look small, but it was still a nice bull.
Yeah.
That would go on a lot of people's walls.
Yeah.
Beats anything I've ever shot.
We got up this morning, it seemed like a pretty warm night, and then the temperature seemed to drop a few degrees, and now we got snow all around. It's not quite sticking, but it might later.
What we have noticed is that the bulls haven't been very vocal at all, and they haven't been willing to respond to our thrashing much at all either. So we've been limited to spot and stalk and just scraping to try to get one to stand up if we're in a good moosey area. But it being today's the 15th, so if it's going to happen vocally, it should start happening in the next 3 or 4 days, and then we should be in the moose pretty thick. And if they can communicate with us, we can get them to come in a lot quicker. The bulls that we've seen have stuck close to their cows, and they're not willing to budge much at all, so we've had to go in after them. Makes it pretty difficult. Some of this vegetation is pretty thick.
Well, it's early morning, day 5. We spent the entire day 4 sitting it out, waiting for the weather to clear, and looks like this low pressure's here for another at least 12-24 hours. Moose haven't been moving around at all. We haven't seen or heard anything in over 24 hours, so all we can do now is just sit and wait it out, or float down today and just sit in the rain all day. One way or the other, I gotta have coffee. Four more days of hunting. We get out in 5 days, so we've got to pull this together pretty quickly if we're going to make it happen.
Well, we got a late start this morning. We scouted around camp with no success. There's this low pressure seems to have the moose either bedded down or completely off the river at the moment. But either way, we didn't connect. So our plan is float in the rain to the next likely area, maybe set up another camp and wait for this low to lift up, hopefully tonight or tomorrow. What do you think?
I think it's still going to be a moosey day, but I'm hoping this stuff is going to burn off. It's call it optimism, but it's not bad hunting conditions now, I don't think. Good visibility, just a light drizzle. I think the moose will be active, and they could be active all day today after that snow yesterday. That could have fired them up, and could be on the move. Let's go get one.
Oh. 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 Oh man, that was awesome. Yeah, we were just calling. Actually, we were floating through this area, and it just looked moosey. So we thought, what the heck, I'd try to cow call And as we didn't make it 100 yards, and Mike looked over and that bull was standing up. He was bedded here on this gravel bar, and that cow call brought him to his feet, and we were able to get some pretty darn good footage, man. That was exciting. I loved it when Mike pulled back on his bow, and that bull was like, I grunted and it turned him broadside. I just knew Mike was going to let him have it. You're looking for a big one though, huh?
Yeah, yeah. That one was fun to play with, but
Yeah, that was good times. Let's go find another.
let's do it.
There's so much country for that bull to be in. It's gonna be luck just running on the right gravel bar.
It's probably 55 inches from what I've seen so far.
Hurry. Oh. Hurry.
good.
I had to take the first shot with the camera. Man, that is funny.
At this point, I've had an emotional flood of interpretations, from a super high to a dreadful low. In wilderness, there are times of austerity, isolation, confusion, and deprivation. These things are almost guaranteed. And one might find inspiration, inner direction, wisdom, even revelation.
Wow.
But acceptance of the situation is the key to understanding where you fit in to any challenging wilderness experience.
We're starting to realize the brevity of that whole circumstance. We don't have enough glue. We have just enough patch material, but not enough glue to make a solid repair on that PR-49. So it's out of commission. And that's sad news, because not only do we have to get this bull downstream, but we only have one big rig and 2 shiznas. That's going to be a load. So that pretty much takes Mike out of the running for a harvest. Completely my fault. In hindsight, never should have tied off to that bull. Never. That tine came up, it just split that tube like it was nothing.
Skills are tested, pride is sometimes stripped, ultimate humility is achieved. These are moments that are necessary for personal growth, when self-sufficiency is barely enough for physical survival. If we endure these challenges and embrace these experiences, we are virtually reborn to become wiser. I've just had what is called a peak experience, a specific set of events that forge an impressionable emotion that links me to this wilderness experience. I will always remember this adventure to have tremendous uplifts, scary failures, and victorious challenges. It's this sliding scale of emotions that leaves me dreaming of future hunts.
Well, it's about 8:30 and we just finished up. It took us at least 3 hours. We've got everything put away under that tarp. We'll just deal with the boat situation tomorrow, once we've had some rest and let reality sink in. Sad day for the PR-49. Not gonna see the end of the trip.
According to philosopher Baylor Johnson, there are at least 6 spiritual benefits of wilderness that hold our attention. These are the psychological explanations of our compelling attraction to wilderness: enduring, the sublime, beauty, competence, peace, and self-forgetting. The first spiritual benefit of wilderness is enduring. Enduring is the experience of connecting to a place that existed well before your life and long after. It reminds us how insignificant the human spirit really is on the natural scale of evolution. In wilderness, we encounter the enduring because we are face to face with ancient things and timeless cycles. And this direct encounter makes our journey in wilderness a moving spiritual experience. Speaking of moving experiences, we now have to get our butts moving and all that moose meat loaded onto our pack rafts. Mike loaded his pack raft with 2 front shoulders and all his gear, about 500 pounds of cargo with his body weight. I'd be paddling the barge with the remainder of the moose, the headgear, and my personal gear, about 680 pounds including my body weight. We attached the meat trailer with 4 sturdy cam straps to keep it rigid. We opted for 2 hindquarters on the front cargo sling to counter my body weight and gear load. Then everything else was placed on the meat trailer and tightly secured. We were ready to move out. We still had about 45 miles to float all this meat to the takeout.
Well, we got it all done. We got it packed up. We're optimistic with water levels. They only come up, so it's rained a couple of days, and yesterday it came up about 2 inches all told, so that should help us out quite a bit. We got a lot of miles to put down today, so we're going to get to it.
Before we shove off with a heavy load, I reflect on wilderness travel. I realize the line between disaster and victory is razor thin. We are always one decision away from total failure. Take our mode of transportation as one example. Knowing how deep my watercraft drafts determines how I choose to negotiate a channel or other hazards. We have no room for error when floating a moose out with a pack raft.
Okay, so what do you think? How many inches? We're going to need about 4 inches total.
So we have to scrutinize every element of weight distribution and hull depth.
6 inches?
6 inches, yeah.
That's not bad. I think we can manage that.
Yeah.
6-inch draft. And it'll improve once I set in it.
The second benefit of wilderness is the sublime. In wilderness, we are reminded of the immensity and power of mountains, rivers, weather, even moose. By these powers, we are awestruck. We then crave to experience them, and they remind us of nature's indifference to the human realm. All these natural forces are visceral reminders of our comparative weakness and vulnerability. The wilderness can easily strip us of pride and dwarf our fame and fortune. Experiences of the sublime can lighten our spirits so that we enjoy the immediate pleasure and hard work at hand. It somehow makes us feel that our mundane lives and frustrations are much less important than they seem from our office window. The third spiritual benefit of wilderness is beauty. The beauty of a place helps to capture the spiritual peace and comfort we find there. The beauty of wilderness is not known by the eyes alone. It's the sound of the river, the smell and feel of rain and snow, the smell of spruce and pungent fall decay, seeing the perspectives of changing light against the hillsides. It's a personal assignment with individual reward.
He's a sluggish one.
The fourth spiritual benefit of wilderness is competence. In the wilderness, we do not compete with other people. It's a personal engagement of our own limitations. And if we resolve as victor against the challenges of nature, we are empowered and uplifted by our capability and worth. The fifth spiritual connection to a wilderness is peace. The wilderness experience contributes to a state of peace. The demands and challenges focus our attention in the same way as activities that promote the flow state. The activities that involve risk and challenge near the limit but within our personal abilities, that provide unambiguous information about success or failure. This state of mind provides opportunities for improvement of our performance. In peace, we enter the zone, comfortable with the challenges, expecting a positive victory. The final spiritual connection to a wilderness is self-forgetting. To identify with the enduring elements of nature, we must relinquish identification of ourselves and our egos. When we fully engage a wilderness challenge and allow ourselves to become fully absorbed by the experience, we find little time for direct concern with self-importance. About an hour into the float, Mike's pack raft caught a sharp rock and sprung a leak. We had to make an early camp that day for an adequate field repair.
There it is right there, about a 3/4 of an inch long. Nice clean cut. I'll be able to patch that fairly easily, and I learned a lesson to stay away from sharp rocks as I'm pulling into the bank. But this canyon area is tough, but I'm only going into rounded rocks or sand from now on. We can't afford that to happen anymore.
Use my Leatherman wave to cut a round patch out of my material, and want to give it at least 2 inches on each side of that laceration to give it maximum holding power when we have it repaired. So at this point we need to put glue on both sides of the one on the patch and one on the area to be patched, and let that dry for a couple of minutes and then hope that it sticks. Let that dry for about 2 minutes, and then we're going to make the adhesion. It's starting to rain, so we got to be quick about it.
After a successful repair, we had to keep it dry overnight.
Well, it started raining almost as soon as we landed on the shore. Got the shiznez repaired. It's just going to have to sit overnight, and hopefully it's good to go. For the rest of the night, we're just going to wait out this weather and maybe do a little reading. It's about 7 o'clock now, so bedtime will be soon. Well, we woke up this morning. Again, it's below freezing. That's a good sign for moose activity, but makes it cold to get up in the morning and get the ice off all of our gear. Cold, wet hands. Your wader boots are frozen solid when we wake up. And I've taken to the second day, realized all of our batteries were going low. We'd almost lost all the life in our GPS, and I was losing a battery a day for the first 2 days, and said, well, I got to do something to salvage this. We haven't had enough sun to use solar panels, solar chargers, so I've just stuck to putting things in my pocket. I've got all my AA batteries, my sat phone batteries in one pocket, GPS in my pocket to stay warm, gloves and more camera batteries in this pocket, and it seems to hold both of my, got two batteries left for my video camera, and I keep the one for the battery that's operating now in my other pocket, so that I can just grab it and go if we see anything. So that's been the routine.
Cold or not, the day must go on. Our repair job was solid, but we reinforced the area with Tyvek tape to protect the patch and continued our float. And just a few minutes downstream, we had another great encounter with a nice bull.
Oh.
Man, was he fired up.
We're at 10 yards. All right, buddy, we're about 7 yards. Sure you want to commit to this? What do you think, buddy? You don't want to hurt me, do you? All right, that's enough. Go. That's enough. Go play, buddy. You're a good boy. Look. 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 Good boy, I'll let you get back to it. You got a cow in there, don't you? He's in full rut. Man, we could have had him so easily. How'd you like that, Mike?
Nice.
That was tasty.
Yeah. Get some big points.
Yeah, he's gonna be a big boy in a few years.
Yeah. Well, we know they're in full rut now. We can just get on them in a place where we can deal with them.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Man, that was such a fun experience. I like that.
Yeah.
Man, we both could have had bow shots on that one. 7 yards, and he was coming in closer. Man, that's how to get it done.
Man, I gotta be real careful about
Plunging.
one of those tubes rolling over.
We've had a couple near spills this morning, so we're not taking any chances. No sweepers or widow makers. So it's better to walk it through whenever we can. Well, we're about 25 miles from the takeout, and got a pretty slow pack out of the main tributary that we just come off of. A lot of fast water, a lot of sweepers, a lot of tight turns in that lower 5 or 6 miles, so it was fairly challenging. We're hopefully in deeper water now, and we're gonna float as hard as we can today to try to get close to the takeout so we can reevaluate tomorrow whether we can hunt or call this hunt an end.
We found a great camp a few miles from the takeout. We wanted to give it one last shot to possibly find a bull for Mike. Since we were so close to the takeout, we figured we could limp slowly and carefully downstream if we were so fortunate.
Well, now that we're in camp, it's been raining the last several hours. We're about 2.5 miles from the takeout. So the drill is this time of night, we get ready. We've already scouted. We found some sign behind camp we're going to go take a look at first thing in the morning. It's very promising. A lot of trees broken off and rubbed down to mere toothpicks. So there's been a big bull in here recently. But now I'm back in the tent, about to settle down and read until dark and wait out this low pressure system. Hopefully it'll dissipate sometime tonight.
That day we scouted and called for a moose with no luck. So we went back to camp to catch up on chores. By the second to last day of this hunt, Mike and I have been physically and mentally challenged. Our pack rafts had taken casualties, and we were down to the bare minimum transportation to get us safely to the takeout. And our final obligation was the ever-present meat care duties. Regardless of weather or circumstance, we carefully manage our game meat. We got lucky with having cooler temps on this hunt, but it still requires a lot of hands-on effort. With pack rafting, moisture is a constant threat, and we have to ensure game bags stay dry. So we remove wet game, hang dry the bags, and allow airflow to help develop a protective crust on the meat. It's a full-time job until the final day. And once everything is adequately dried, game meat goes back into the bags and reloaded onto the boats.
So we got 2 hindquarters up front, bag meat, neck meat bag number 1, neck meat bag number 2, tenderloins backstrap, tenderloin backstrap. And we'll have a sack of ribs to go right on top. I think we'll be set. Well, we couldn't make it happen at this camp, so we decided to float down and scout out a gravel bar for a takeout. Well, we made it to the takeout. I guess our hunting is going to be pretty slow from here. If we don't get one in camp, it's over. So we passed up on a lot of bulls, had a lot of good times. Enjoyed a great float, good camaraderie, a lot of fun. Look forward to coming back here, I think. I think we ended up seeing 13 bulls. Not too bad for a scab.
This hunt had a bittersweet ending for me. As I fly away, I was glad to have made it out in one piece with a big bull and most of my gear intact, but sad to be leaving such a magical place that offered intense, real close encounters with wildlife, the land, and its challenges. We came expecting a challenging wilderness experience, and we resolved as victors with great personal reward. In the end, if I am to define my expectations of Terra Incognita, it's still a wild, unexplored land in the absence of human impact. It's the feeling of having been the first one to see an area. But it's also the deep connections I make with wilderness. I realize that it's not just one event of hunting success that envelops my love for wild places. It's the level of enduring, the recognition of the sublime, being awestruck by the beauty, sharpening personal competence, finding inner peace, and embracing self-forgetting. All of these spiritual elements serve to connect us to the wilderness experience. But how do we preserve an experience that is largely a personal interpretation with varying levels of value? On one hand, we hope to strengthen the fabric of the wilderness experience, while the other hand hopes to protect the character of its past for the future. The only way it's possible for both to occur is to motivate the public to accept a personal interest of land use, while they limit their group's impact to avoid scarring the landscape by leaving no trace of their presence. Each visitor must want the wilderness experience to remain available to them and their future generations. My ultimate hope is that this video collection doesn't become a mere snapshot of what wilderness character used to be. If we view Terra Incognita as a magical place, an ultimate experience of wild, personal exploration, we have no choice but to admit how fragile this interpretation is. And this film demonstrates how important it is that our values match our motivations to leave wild places unmarred by our travel. It's now up to the visitor to exercise their own personal strategies to minimize their impact so that wilderness continues to offer a quality, spiritual experience in the future.